Milwaukee. The Dodgers lost 6-5 on Sunday. Mookie Betts had a chance to change the outcome in the bottom of the ninth. Betts came up with the bases loaded and 2 outs, but flied out to center field to end the game. The Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10 games. The Angels got an 8-2 win at Philadelphia. Angels left fielder Taylor Ward had 4 RBIs. The Angels are in New York City today to start a 3-game series against the Mets. President Trump is threatening to withhold federal funding for a proposed new stadium for the NFL Washington Commanders. Trump wants the franchise to go back to its original nickname, the Redskins. Washington majority owner Josh Harris said he has no plans to do that. The Washington franchise replaced Redskins with Commanders in 2020. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. And we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you. Aristocrats, I'm climbing, making money, do the time. Communism is just a word. If the government turn over, it'll be the only word that's heard. America, America, God share His grace on you. America, America, keep your children free. Little sister, make them remain.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to
Monkey cage.
the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're dedicating our program today and our show to the late Malcolm Jamal Warner. It's almost impossible to refer to him as late. But based upon preliminary information, Malcolm Jamal Warner died in an accident today while swimming or in some position tied to suffocation related to water. He has been so much a part of those of us who are 60-somethings, 55-somethings, from Theo Huxtable to his extraordinary role in Resident, which I think is among his greatest work, available on Netflix. Malcolm Jamal Warner, as a brain surgeon, brought us deeper into the complexities of the lives of Black physicians, the role that they play in operating on the human brain and trying to save people and their memories, their thoughts, their actions, their best thinking. And so today I am just struck. I'm struck by his loss. I'm struck by the age in which he has departed. And we're dedicating today's program on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show to the late Malcolm Jamal Warner. Today on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, our very special guest is none other than the incomparable Kerry Gordy. Kerry Gordy is one of the producers, creators of a new Netflix series that came out last night called Sunday's Best. And before Kerry comes on the program, I want to also share that our contributor to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns, will be joining us in the first hour, maybe in the second hour, where Teresa Horde Owens will be joining us. But I want to share with everyone. The impact and the role that culture plays in our thinking. We know the history of the civil rights movement: Brown versus the Board of Education, the death of Emmett Till, Rosa Parks taking her seat, the Montgomery bus boycott, the I Have a Dream speech, the Civil Rights Act of '64, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and subsequent public accommodations legislation, and the death of Martin Luther King Jr. What we don't think about during that era is the impact that culture had. When we're not protesting, when we're not boycotting, when we're not fighting, when we retreat to what it means to be ourselves, our authentic selves, as musicians, as people who express themselves as a musical, cultural contribution and delight to humanity. And Sunday's Best, I'm going to put a plug in for it right now, is heading to the nomination for the Oscars. It is on Netflix. It came out last night. It doesn't have Ed Sullivan's name in it, but what it shows is the extraordinary contribution, the conscious contribution, the intention to attention that Ed Sullivan played in selecting artists during that era to be on his program. He shaped the culture. If you think Beyonce shaped the culture and Jay-Z shaped the culture and Tupac shaped the culture and Biggie shaped the culture and Drake shaped the culture, then you just have to watch this film to see the impact that Satchmo, that Nat King Cole, that Nina Simone, that Harry Belafonte, that the myriad of artists that Carrie Gordy brings forward in this film, along with the niece of Ed Sullivan, on shaping the culture that we retreated to when we were not protesting, when we were not expressing our outrage at the idea of segregation in the United States. Whatever films have received an Oscar over the last several selections of Oscars, there is no doubt in my mind, when you talk about Summer of Soul, when you talk about other programs that have received critical acclaim, that if we pay attention to Sunday's Best on Netflix, that this particular resurrection of Ed Sullivan and his role as a pioneer in civil rights, introducing Black artists and Black culture to white audiences on little screens called television sets, and then holding the standard, the high standard of excellence that is represented by our community. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, Gina Towns and Carrie Gordy are joining us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, KBLA Talk 1580, when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, family. This is Dr. Rosa Milligan, self-appointed mayor of South Central LA. I'm sounding the alarm. AI, artificial intelligence, is not coming. It's already here. Join me with a powerful Zoom seminar that will teach you how to use AI for your personal and business use. Go to mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742.
Let's be real. Too many Black businesses missed out on COVID PPP loans because they weren't tech ready. We can't afford to be left behind again. This time, we must lead. Register today at mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742.
You know me, Dr. Rosa, trusted voice of the people, 50 years fighting for literacy, technology, and living trust education. And now I got your back on AI. Go to mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742. Your future is calling. Answer it.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online. I read that Black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ROYAL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ROYAL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ROYAL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jackson Jr. show. Kerry Gordy, affectionately known as KG, was born in Detroit, Michigan, the same year that his father, Barry Gordy, started Motown Records. He grew up around all of the major stars, such as Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, Marvin Gaye, and Michael Jackson. He started in the mail room at Motown and worked in every division from A&R to publishing and marketing to business affairs. While at Motown, he wrote and produced songs for The Temptations, The Four Tops, and Billy Preston. The first hit he had as an executive with Motown was with his brother Rockwell, Somebody's Watching Me. KG was also the leader of the 1980s teen idol band Apollo. More on KG's biography later in the program. However, KG, Gina Towns, our contributor on Fridays, who had you scheduled for 2 hours, will be joining us in this hour. Gina is a record recording artist herself. She is enormously talented, and she's also the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. For those of you who are listening, last Friday, I read an extensive bio about Gina, and I will also refer to her bio throughout this program as well. Gina, Kerry, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hi, hey, I just want you to know that music that you have, the interlude music, that's some funky stuff.
It's Marcus Miller, I do believe.
It's good. It's funky.
I want to share with you, Kerry, that you've been on our program now a couple of times, and last night, Sunday Best came out on Netflix, and I got up early this morning. I watched it, and I began watching it again right before the program, so I've seen it 1.5 times.
Okay.
And I want to reflect upon this before I turn the program over to you and Gina, and before our first break. And that's this. We talk about these dates, this history of the civil rights movement, but there's also a culture that is taking place that we retreat to, where we are at our Sunday's best, where we laugh, where we enjoy. Everything isn't everything that the man is doing to us. There is a place that we go where we survive, where our spirit energy manifests itself in the culture. And what I saw in the extraordinary documentary that I believe is heading for an Oscar and whatever appropriate awards that it absolutely deserves is this. I saw Ed Sullivan on the scale that I've never seen him before. That his attention that he paid to intention with respect to desegregation and civil rights, introducing the spirit, energy, and the culture of our people to the broadest possible audience came at great risk. And it came at great risk to his reputation in the newly developing medium of television. It came at great risk to his life, to his career, to the embodiment and the very definition that he ultimately changed of what it meant to be an American. With that said, Carrie Gordy, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And Gina, if you have anything you want to comment on regarding what we've seen, please share it now.
I am so grateful that you took the time to do this work. Every now and then you'll see a movie or a documentary, maybe be it a concert, that you wish never ends. And that's how I feel about this documentary. And there's so much richness to it, Carrie, that I'm going to have to sit with it. Definitely more than the one time that I've been able to watch it today. I was grateful that it was on early this morning. I was like, what time do they launch on Netflix? What is it, a midnight thing? Is it an 8 o'clock thing? But there it was. And I am so happy that you were able to come back today. Congratulations. Today is your launch day. And thank you for giving us with some of your time, because I know you are jam-packed. Your phone is ringing off the hook. And so thank you.
This documentary contains footage that I don't believe anyone on earth has ever seen before. I mean, at least maybe if you were young in our generation when it was actually occurring live, but I'm 60, so I'm born in 1965. So you really need to be about 65 years old, about 70 years old to be able to say that you actually saw Ed Sullivan live and saw some of the footage that we're seeing now that we haven't seen for 100 years?
Yeah, you could be 60, 59, 58. You just would have been young when you saw it.
Okay. Well, Carrie, extraordinary work. And this is now your work. You have resurrected Ed Sullivan, just like I believe Dr. Eddie Glaude resurrected James Baldwin. We are going to be discussing this for quite some time. Your thoughts now that this documentary has entered the public space?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you for giving me the platform to actually tell the story. It's really interesting, when you're doing a documentary or a song or a movie or a book or whatever it is. There's 1,000 ways that it can be done. And the fact of the matter is that what's unique about this isn't the fact that we did Ed Sullivan, which, by the way, would have been a great story if we just did the normal, what you would expect the Ed Sullivan story to be. What makes this unique is that we took it from a place of passion, and I would say Sasha's passion, the director who passed, and Sasha and I had worked on 2 previous movies together. So he knew where my heart was. I felt where his heart was. So when he approached me and said he wanted to do the Ed Sullivan story, I was like, well, here's the thing. Ed Sullivan meant something different to me, I believe, because I was young, Black, impressionable, and so forth at the time than it means to everybody who's out here now. So he said, well, this is amazing because I want to take it from the perspective of what it meant to the Black culture. And as soon as he said that, I said, okay, I am totally in, because I know what it meant to me. And it meant the same thing to me as it meant to Diana Ross. And it meant the same thing to Diana Ross as it did to Oprah. And it meant the same thing to Oprah as it did to people prior to them. So to that end, you know, to that end, I had this was a calling. This was a passion. This was not a project that I was doing. This is something that needed to be told, and it needed to be shown to to the grand population, but specifically to the Black population that will remember it, to those who came after them that remember their parents talking about this amazing talent, whether it's Sammy Davis Jr. or Louis Armstrong or Ella Fitzgerald or Lena Horne.
Or Mahalia.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So to that end, this was a very important project. As it relates to film projects, I think it is the most important project that I've ever done. You know, you guys know that I do copyright termination, and I terminate contracts for people who assign their rights over early in their careers before they have the leverage to make the best deals for themselves. That's a calling and a passion as well. But as far as my film projects go, this is definitely the number one in my whole universe of projects, the number one project in my whole history as far as I'm concerned.
You have a lot to be proud of right here. And Gina, I want you to come in and offer your thoughts on this point right here, that we are a generation right now where American history, American forces that have been against desegregation are all coming together seemingly to end a second Reconstruction. And what I think, among the many different narratives that come out of Sunday Best, is this. We saw through Ed Sullivan and through Carrie's work a method and a way to attack nonviolently movements towards segregation through our culture. Ed Sullivan consciously introduced us to the culture, and the culture changed. And I'm saying to myself right now, Gina, and I know that you're a recording artist yourself, that the introduction of our culture to the majority is also a tool, a nonviolent tool for change. It just is. And that becomes increasingly clear when you see the Sammy Davis, the Mahalia, the Smokey Robinson interpretation, when you see the broad scope of what Carrie has accomplished in this documentary. And God bless Sasha, who did not live to see this extraordinary work. What they've accomplished here is something that has to be taught in schools. Gina?
I my claim to fame, really, I love to write. And as a person who likes to journal and has done journalism professionally, storytelling is so important. When we tell our story and we share it with people who don't know our story, you learn something about it. It serves to build bridges. And, I really see this documentary as a civil rights piece. I don't know if that's the term for this generation necessarily, but a human rights piece that will live on. And this work, I am going to share it with everyone that I know who is in Gen Z and, that is a millennial, that's Generation X, and let's see, the baby boomers. And I think there's another one, there's Generation. Who does not need to see this piece of work? And it's so well done. And the way that you tell the story. And in particular, hearing Ed Sullivan, and I know some of these things were, conversations that were shared that he had with people, but his strength of conviction and not being afraid and not being able to kowtow to what people wanted him to do. Some of that he talked about, he got at home, how they grew up, how the Irish felt like they were, if you will, spat upon, the low man on the totem pole when they came to the United States. And certainly his parents instilled in him that they didn't want anybody else to feel that way. And that applied for him to African Americans.
Yeah, it's really interesting. When I think sometimes I think when I'm talking to Stevie, how does someone who's blind really, how can they be prejudiced against a different color? Right? And so the concept here was very interesting as it relates to Ed Sullivan's upbringing, because his Irish ancestry and his parents let him know that, wait a minute, we are no less than any of these other people out here, right? We aren't less, the Jews aren't less, the Blacks aren't less. And just because we are of a, different culture or a different color or race or religion or whatever it is, that should not be the thing that dictates how you are treated from a civil rights perspective. So he really said, you know what? It doesn't matter to me who you are, where you've been, who you love, who doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is, are you talented and can you entertain my folks? Right?
I think you're right on target. Obviously, I mean, you're the creator of this work, but listen, I'm sitting here struggling with the words to describe this documentary because of the impact that culture has on our politics. And what I figured out today and gave some thought to for the first time was that there is this place, Carrie, that we retreat to where we laugh at Mr. Charlie. There is this place where we sing. There is this place where the existential realities of who we are as Black people presents itself in a form of excellence, where Nat King Cole is asked by Ed Sullivan, hey, he's introducing Nat King Cole to America. Now, today, it's just a foregone conclusion that during Christmas, we listen to, the Christmas song by Nat King Cole.
Yes.
But Ed Sullivan had to make that introduction. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is KBLA Talk 1580. We're on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is Carrie Gordy. Carrie Gordy has produced an extraordinary documentary called Sunday's Best that was released yesterday on Netflix. When we come forward, more with Carrie Gordy.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Malcolm Jamal Warner, best known for playing Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, has died at 54. According to TMZ, the actor died from an accidental drowning. He leaves behind his wife and daughter, though he kept their names and family life private. Sentencing is set for today for former Louisville, Kentucky officer Brett Hankison, who was convicted of violating a Black woman, Breonna Taylor's civil rights by firing blindly into her apartment in 2020. The Justice Department is recommending time served, a $100 fine, and 3 years of supervised release, an outcome Taylor's family and Louisville's mayor are calling deeply disappointing. And Venus Williams is making her return to the court this week after a year away from competition. The 45-year-old tennis legend has accepted a wildcard entry into the DC Open, marking her first tournament since the 2023 Miami Open. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year and their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are off to a very bad start in the second half of the season. They were swept at home by Milwaukee. The Dodgers lost 6-5 on Sunday. Mookie Betts had a chance to change the outcome in the bottom of the ninth. Betts came up with the bases loaded and 2 outs, but flied out to center field to end the game. The Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10 games. The Angels got an 8-2 win at Philadelphia. Angels left fielder Taylor Ward had 4 RBIs. The Angels are in New York City today to start a 3-game series against the Mets. President Trump is threatening to withhold federal funding for a proposed new stadium for the NFL Washington Commanders. Trump wants the franchise to go back to its original nickname, the Redskins. Washington majority owner Josh Harris said he has no plans to do that. The Washington franchise replaced Redskins with Commanders in 2020. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard, not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us, and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis Smiley and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war, and we the people of Black Altadena are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there's nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
No warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say you
everything we all got right.
Hey, we all got rights.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments of the U.S.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than the incomparable Carrie Gordy. Carrie has done some extraordinary work and has recently released a new documentary on Netflix, released yesterday, called Sunday's Best. And this documentary shows the relationship between the courage, the integrity of Ed Sullivan and his introduction of A standard, Class A African-American entertainers to white living rooms, to white households, and how ultimately some form of acceptance touched white America, that which they defined as America. To be an American meant you were on the Ed Sullivan Show. To understand American culture means it was processed through Ed Sullivan. And Ed Sullivan looked for the best talent on earth. And he brought forward Nat King Cole. He brought forward Bo Diddley. He brought forward Dizzy Gillespie. He brought forward Nina Simone. He brought forward Mahalia Jackson. He brought forward Gladys Knight and the Pips. He brought forward the Temptations. So it's almost impossible in this hour that we have, Carrie, to completely process what we have witnessed and what we're going to be witnessing and processing through this extraordinary documentary. Gina Towns, our executive producer, who is also a recording artist, is joining us in this hour, in part because Carrie was her very special guest on Friday for a 2-hour segment on the introduction of this documentary. Due to some technical difficulties, Carrie only joined us for an hour, and we're welcoming Carrie back in this hour. Gina, Carrie Gordy is our special guest.
He sure is. And as you were naming all of the people that made appearances in the documentary, I thought about Harry Belafonte and a young Diana Ross. And you talked about Ray Charles, and Stevie Wonder, who were blind. I mean, to be able to take a chance on people that you may not have been so sure of, but then again, he must have been sure about what he saw because it was his passion. But as I look at, and for those people who are not listening, if you get a chance to go and see on KBLA YouTube, which we are live on, or on Facebook, you'll see Ed Sullivan smiling as he introduces.
I didn't know Ed Sullivan had teeth until this documentary.
You see him smiling, though, after the person performed. It was always so amazing to see what they presented, to see the audience respond. And then I could almost imagine him going, "Yep, I tried to tell you this was going to be a really big shoe." So, man, just what a personality. And I think you laid out a timeline for us on Friday of how this whole thing worked with from Ed Sullivan to your father, Barry Gordy to, yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I don't know. That was just my 6 degrees of separation, uh, because the point is that you don't get from point A to point Z without a lot of things happening in the middle. And so the fact that we live in a society now where a lot of Blacks and minorities in general don't understand the struggle that we had to go through to get here. I mean, between what Martin Luther King and your father did, and everything that's happened since, from not even being able to be on TV, to the Cosby Show, to the Oprah Show, to the ability to have now Oprah have a platform to physically endorse a candidate, Barack Obama, that ends up becoming president of the United States the United States of America. Here's the deal. See, Jesse, when I was a kid, people would say stuff like, you can be anything you want to be. You can be the president of the United States. And I knew that was bull S.
Yeah, I heard that.
Right? Because that
we never seen one. We never seen one.
That's right. That was something that we had never seen before. And even though people would say it, you didn't believe it within yourself. The same thing applies to whether or not someone can aspire to be a Michael Jackson. But Michael Jackson got to see Jackie Wilson. And Jackie Wilson got to see James Brown. And James Brown got to see Sammy Davis Jr., right? Because of Ed Sullivan.
Yes. I mean, and that's what's so fascinating about the timeline, right, Gina?
Yes.
That Ed, there's nothing before Ed Sullivan.
Right.
And there's a different world after Ed Sullivan.
That's right.
So some of you might say, well, it was just our talent that brought us forward. No, it was our talent plus some people who risked their position in society.
That's right.
On television and other mediums to bring us forward and introduce us to the culture and to show the culture what it was missing and how bankrupt it was without our participation.
Right.
That was a factor in the courage of a Martin Luther King. And so some of us are trying right now to get our politics right. We're trying to get what to say right. We're trying to stand for the right policy. Hey, I get all of that. But it must be reinforced by the spirit energy of the culture itself. And therefore, we need the musicians to step forward with their pants pulled up, with their integrity.
Well, that was another thing.
Yes.
That was another thing. We
have about 10 seconds, and then we're going to come forward. I'm going to give you the final segment. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, KBLA Talk 1580. We are talking about the new Netflix documentary, Sunday Best, where Carrie Gordy has, for the last several episodes of the Jesse Jackson Jr. program, prepared us for what I believe will be an Oscar-winning documentary. When we come forward, you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is none other than the incomparable Carrie Gordy, whose new documentary on Netflix, Sunday's Best, aired last night on Netflix, and it details the courage of Ed Sullivan, and it really resurrects his life for the modern era to show that in large measure, so much of what we fight for, we did not just fight by ourselves. There were allies in the struggle, and they crossed every conceivable medium. Carrie, Gina, and I are so grateful that you're spending this time with us. Gina, I know you wanted to have this series of inquiry.
Well,
Carrie
of course, I wanted him to go through his whole timeline. If this didn't happen, if that didn't happen, from Berry Gordy meeting Michael Jackson to Steven Spielberg, and the work that they did together. And it was Steven Spielberg who said something about Oprah. Hey, we ought to try her on this.
No. It was Steven who got with Quincy.
There you go.
Michael Jackson. Okay, so I'll start again. You wanted me to give you this time. Berry Gordy, he discovers Michael Jackson. Big, they sell 100 million records. Then Berry Gordy decides that he's going to do a movie, The Wiz, and he's going to get Quincy Jones to be the musical director, and he's going to put Diana Ross and Michael Jackson in that movie. Quincy,
don't forget Nipsey. Don't forget.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna.
Oil.
Timeline. I'm just being timeline.
Oil in McCann.
Right. And Richard Pryor. You can't
provide some oil to me.
So Berry Gordy discovers the Michael Jackson. They do The Wiz. He had Quincy do the music. Michael and Quincy get together. And they have the biggest album in the world, Thriller. It catches the attention of Steven Spielberg. Steven and Quincy get together and they produce The Color Purple. And in this production, Quincy found this regional TV host in Chicago by the name of Oprah Winfrey. He puts her in The Color Purple. From there, her television show goes national, and now she's got the platform to get behind a candidate, and she decides that she's going to get behind Barack Obama, and he becomes president.
So now that's important. That's particularly important on the political side because Oprah Winfrey, by and large, introduces Barack Obama to an audience that, just like Ed Sullivan took thousands of talents and introduced them to a national audience. That matters. Who introduces you to everybody does matter.
It certainly does. But remember, Oprah Winfrey said that it was Diana Ross on the Ed Sullivan Show that changed her perspective and changed her life based on the aspiration of her knowing that she can bring that much joy to people as well, if Diana Ross can do it.
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted you to go through that exactly the way that you did. And it's important. Why? Because one of my favorite people right now is a gentleman by the name of Ernest Krim III. And he's a very influential gentleman in his generation. And he's a millennial. And so what you described went from generation to generation. And this is why it's important that you did a documentary the way that you did, so that we can continue to tell our story, because I do believe he's listening in right now. And I can't wait to hear, what he has to say. I'm looking forward to him seeing the documentary so that we can discuss it, because these are the kinds of things, these are the kinds of people that have to step into history right now. And hopefully as people watch the documentary, they'll kind of figure out where do I fit in this? And so, Ernest, I just got a note from Ernest that says, yes, he is listening. Let me see if I can bring Ernest Krim to the stage.
Let me say one thing first. It's really important that anybody who's listening here that goes to Netflix and watches the documentary, Sunday Best, if they love it, then it's very important to do two things. One, to give it a double thumbs up because of the algorithm in that Matrix. That Netflix has, and it's also important to tell your friends, to email, to tweet, to post, so that we can get the word out, because we think that if the word gets out, then everybody's going to gravitate to it. Yeah, but marketing is always a very, very important component. It doesn't matter how good your stuff is if you aren't marketed. So Michael Jackson without the Ed Sullivan audience could be great, but if nobody knows he exists, then he's still going to be that little Michael Jackson in Gary,
Indiana. That's right.
So Ernest is with us. Carrie Gordy, meet Ernest Krim.
Hey, Ernest.
Hey, what's up, brother Gordy? It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm learning a lot, and I haven't even seen the documentary yet, so I can't wait to check it out.
Well, it's important for you to post it and tweet it and do whatever you can to your generation.
Let me help Ernest here and allow Ernest to reflect upon this. There's so much about the past that is surface level stuff, and you may have heard of Ed Sullivan, but when you see this documentary, Carrie Gordy and Sasha, who is now deceased, and the extraordinary team behind this great work are going to introduce you to the micro steps that it took for some of our greatest heroes to become who they are, and some of the courage that was required on their part. They are really, in some ways, Carrie, the unsung heroes of our movement, because if we are publicly leading the bus boycott, we are privately hymning and repeating in our minds what Mahalia is singing. And that matters to our energy and our dignity, and what Nat is doing and what Dizzy is doing. And Bojangle isn't, Bo Diddley isn't in blackface, right? I mean, these guys have integrity in this process.
Now they also had to be clean cut. They had to deal with all of the name calling and all of the being spat on and being beat up and the whole shot, and still maintain their dignity. So we had to go an extra mile because had we caused a ruckus like they wanted us to, then this would have never happened.
That's right. That's right. Ernest, your moment with Kerry Gordy.
Yeah, I think to me, just off of hearing this interview, it reminds me of the importance of reclaiming our narratives, and that's it speaks to so much of what I do when I'm speaking to children and speaking to audiences about the importance of Black history. To be able to view things through this lens immediately for me makes me ask the question: How can we do this today? Or in what way is it being done today, or in what way is it not being done? Because this to me proves that we all have a role in paving a path for a better future for us all. So again, I can't wait to see this too, because for me, I never knew this aspect of Ed Sullivan. This is somebody that you were just, usually just knew how to talk show back in the day, as they say, but you didn't know, especially considering the era in which he was doing this. Just makes me admire his works even more, and you, of course, for bringing this to the forefront.
Listen to this. My father had to put white people on the Isley Brothers cover on the beach with a beach ball playing. Right. And the fact of the matter is because he couldn't put the Isley Brothers on it because they were Black, and he wouldn't get racked. He wouldn't get the visibility in the stores. He wouldn't be able to get his product distributed because he had a Black face on the cover of an album. People don't even get that, how far that's come now. Right. So we have, and he had to think of that. He had to say, you know what? And another thing is my father had to have all of these white executives fronting so that when they walked into a distribution center, they weren't, there wasn't a Black person talking to someone who might be hiding behind a Ku Klux Klan mask. Right? We take our freedom for granted. And people died for what we have now.
Wow.
What I've decided to do, if you both of you can hang with me, I'd like to take you guys into the next segment just for about 7 or 8 minutes, because I think this is so rich that it needs to be projected. Just 15 minutes, guys. It reminds me of what I just heard when Reggie Lewis, the first Black billionaire, purchased McCall's Patterns, and he could never tell anyone that he owned McCall's. He had to sign in as if he was just any old employee because he didn't want white women who bought the magazine to know that it was owned by a Black man. He told me personally, if they thought for a moment that somehow the patterns were changing, which they weren't, that somehow the material was going to be dashiki, then he would have lost value in the magazine. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward more with this conversation as we prepare for Reverend Terry Howard Owens. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Malcolm Jamal Warner, best known for playing Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show. According to TMZ, the actor died from an accidental drowning. He leaves behind his wife and daughter, though he kept their names and family life private. Sentencing is set for today for former Louisville, Kentucky officer Brett Hankison, who was convicted of violating a Black woman, Breonna Taylor's civil rights by firing blindly into her apartment in 2020. The Justice Department is recommending time served, a $100 fine, and 3 years of supervised release, an outcome Taylor's family and Louisville's mayor are calling deeply disappointing. And Venus Williams is making her return to the court this week after a year away from competition. The 45-year-old tennis legend has accepted a wildcard entry into the DC Open, marking her first tournament since the 2023 Miami Open. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year and their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley Show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard, not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us, and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis Smiley and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war, and we the people of Black Altadena are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing, and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there's nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this hour, of course, we dedicate this hour to the life of Malcolm Jamal Warner, who lost his life today in an apparent swimming accident of sorts. We're waiting more information. We're so grateful that in this hour, Carrie Gordy has joined us in this first segment, along with Gina Towns, our regular Friday contributor, and Teresa Horde Owens. Teresa Horde Owens is our regular contributor in this hour. She is the general minister and president of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ, in the United States and Canada. She is the first person of color and second woman to lead the denomination, and the first woman of African descent to lead a mainline denomination. Madam President, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hello there, Congressman. It's good to be with you all. I've just been enjoying this conversation from backstage. So I'm old enough to remember Ed Sullivan, and growing up in Indiana, I'll confess that I used to think I was going to marry Michael Jackson. So
everyone did.
I was from Indiana, so he had to come home to find a wife, right? But anyways, I remember first seeing them on the Ed Sullivan, my parents being excited about the Temptations and the Supremes and that. So that was must-see TV, right? Back in the days when there were no VCRs, and just the narrative, Carrie, the way you've connected those dots to really shape that narrative, as Ernest has said, I think is so important. When we get off, I'll be going to watch this, and I'll be sure to share and promote it as much as I can. Just such important history.
Also in this hour, our very special guest, Ernest Krim III, who is a millennial who both Gina and I have a particular fond of because we think that so much of the future is invested in his work, and the time that we spend with him is about his development, our development, as we share and try and find common ground between generations, knowing full well that those of us who are 60 and older are out of here. And in a moment, we're going to bequeath a world to Ernest Krim III, and we're going to trust that that which we had to share mattered. Ernest, our very special guest in this hour, is none other than Kerry Gordy. He is an extraordinarily difficult person to get in touch with and to book. And the fact that he is honoring us in the last hour and certainly in this segment, and if he wants to hang around, per Teresa Horde Owens' suggestion, if she suggests that, I'm not suggesting that she should suggest it because this is her hour. I just want to say that, Kerry, we are so grateful. And I think the world is going to be grateful because with this documentary, you are definitely on the ascension. Tell us about some of the motivations on why Ed Sullivan.
Well, the reason for why Ed Sullivan is because people needed to know the story. And I can't, if I had let this opportunity go, there was a possibility that this story would be lost for all of our generations to know. I kind of feel like if we don't get stuff in this generation, we could potentially lose a lot of our history. Sometimes you talk to people and if they don't even know I heard something yesterday that was really crazy. It was somebody that was kind of new. I can't even remember. I mean, not like Diana Ross. I'm talking about somebody new. People don't know Luther Vandross, and I'm like, wait a minute, how?
How's that possible?
Or how could you not know of Teddy Pendergrass? Or it's crazy to me. So if we don't tell the story now and tell the story from our perspective, either the story won't get told or it's going to be told by someone who really doesn't know the story. Mm-hmm. And we really need to have those of us who were there. And I was just a kid, but I have to tell you, we would rush home on Sunday nights to see what Black Star was going to be on Ed Sullivan, right? And the thing about it was a lot of people didn't have televisions back then. And so people would go over to the person's house that had the television and they'd have those rabbit ears and somebody holding the rabbit ear over here or whatever it is, trying to get the reception good on a very small TV. But we loved it, or everybody loved it, right? So it's very important. This is like I said, this is much more of a calling as it relates to this project than it was a project. This is something that I had to get out now. And Ed Sullivan could have been told 100 different ways. And we decided to tell it from our perspective.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, our very special guest and co-host is Reverend Dr. Teresa Horde Owens. Hopefully, Kerry and Ernest Krim will hang around with us just for another segment. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that Black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Monday. Reverend Terry Hord Owens is the General Minister and President of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ in the United States and Canada. Last Monday, she was unable to be with us, and she had a substitute, a surrogate. Her husband, Walter, was on our program. And anytime the president of a major denomination can't make the program, I have to assume that God has called her to do something else, and we have to absolutely respect that. Madam President, welcome forward to your show, Madam President.
Thank you so much. We were holding our biennial General Assembly, and the business sessions were in the afternoon. So grateful that Walter was able to come on and join in the conversation. He enjoyed it immensely.
We had a great time. Let me allow Gina Towns, our Friday host of Reflectivity, whose guest is our guest, Kerry Gordy. Last Friday, we had a technical glitch and could not have him on for the full 2 hours because of the release of his new documentary, Sunday Best, which aired last night, and it makes an amazing connection between the role that Ed Sullivan played in civil rights. I want to turn this part of our program over to Gina Towns.
I just wanted to, thanks, Jesse. I wanted to make a little bit of a connection here because we're on Moving Mountain Mondays. And Carrie, you said something about how this may be lost. Our history may be lost if we had not captured this, or if we don't continue to capture things that may be slipping away from us. And Terry, you know, the first thing I thought about was the lost scrolls. They found the Ark of the Covenant because the scripture had been lost for so long and people did not know how to behave, how to live their lives. And I just think that that's the same issue with history as well, because that's what the scrolls were. The Ark of the Covenant was. It was Jewish history.
That's right. You know, my dad's a retired Black Studies professor at Knox College. He has a book of literary criticism called Reconstructing Memory. And he basically says you can't go forward unless you know who you are and where you've been. And so that history, it's one of the reasons why I too am a fan of Ernest Krim III, because not only the history, but as Carrie said, from our perspective, we have to be the ones to shape the narrative. And without that, We really don't understand our identity. Without our history, we are identity less. And we don't understand what we've contributed to the culture as opposed to how people think the culture has shaped us. There's not much in American popular culture that has not been shaped by Black folks. We are the original American culture, be it music, literature. We're what didn't come from Europe, right? So those stories have to be told, and they have to be preserved so that we can shape our future generations' sense of themselves with integrity.
Terry, this next image is for you. It's Michael Jackson. I make sure that before Carrie leaves us, that Jesse always likes to give someone a opportunity to share a word of hope, and this has been just a wonderful opportunity to share with you, Carrie. Thank you so much for coming back.
Well, this whole the whole culture that we're in right now is we're in the craziest times that I can remember since I've been a child. I had the advantage, I believe, of literally living through the best part of American history. Because by the time, in the late 60s, by the time I was growing up, things were starting to ease up. And actually, I was born into this kingdom called Motown, and I was living like a prince. So I had the chance to experience the goodness and the positive, let's say, trajectory of where we could go as a people. And now it seems like we've turned the corner and we're going backwards. So what I would say is everyone needs to stay in their lane and know what they can do to help move the culture where it needs to be. So my lane happens to be in entertainment. So anything that I can do to uplift entertainment, like rap is okay rap is okay in certain aspects, but it has been totally taken out of context and made so that felonious activity and negative stereotypes are what is cool to the kids. And I think that's horrible. And I think it's horrible for us as executives to push that narrative out to our children. So I'm just saying that, like Michael Jackson said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. And the fact is that I'm going to stay in my lane and focus on what I can do. In the same thing that Reverend Terry can focus on what she can do, and the same way that Jesse and Gina can and Ernest can push their narrative the way that they do, but people have to do it.
That's right.
So
Sunday Best is on Netflix today. It is one of the new ads to Netflix. I would really love for every viewer, every person who can hear our voices, to go to Netflix and watch Sunday Best this week. It is one of the most extraordinary documentaries that has been produced in the music realm, in the genre realm, in the culture realm. And because of the pivotal moment that is the life of Ed Sullivan, we're extremely grateful for the resurrection of Ed Sullivan by Carrie Gordy. Carrie, thank you for being on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
We have to give the 2 thumbs up on Netflix, and everybody needs to post and tweet and tell their people, if they love it, to post and tweet, because I'm confident that they're going to love it.
We appreciate you, Carrie.
Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Madam President, Brother Krim, let me turn our program over to, of course, Madam President, we have a millennial, a young man with extraordinary talents, who we've taken fond of because of his clarity on history, because of his clarity on spirituality. But he also generationally understands that a bridge has to be built between that which we know and that which the young people that he communicates with are experiencing. Madam President, I know Gina made the introduction earlier. We've talked about a generation of people staying at the table. Your new work, which will be available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble and other various mediums across platforms. We have a millennial who we'd like to invite to the table. Madam President.
I'm just so excited that Ernest is back here. And as I was listening to the conversation, one of the things that we engaged at our General Assembly, again, we're 80% white, 10% black, 6-7% Hispanic, 2 to 3% Asian Pacific Islander. Some powerful what we call statements of witness. One about what Israel continues to do in Gaza, about the situation, immigration. We denounced the horrible, awful budget bill, et cetera. And we had young people coming to the floor and speaking for those things. And I remember, I'm still mad that I'm no longer considered a young adult. and every major movement forward in human history has been led by young people. Certainly that's been the case in the United States. Jesse, our dads are about the same age.
Yes.
And I remember my dad's activity as a college student in Indiana, the work that he did as a young black man in his 30s to lift up his community. I also remember the fights that I fought. Apartheid was the issue when I was an undergraduate at Harvard. And I think one of the things that our generation has to remember is that there are certain fights where we were pushing the ball down the court. We were breaking, we were pushing envelopes. And I think that the interesting thing in what's happening now is that this generation is now facing the very fights that our parents fought.
Isn't that interesting?
The very fights. We were supposed to be the children of the promise, right? We were supposed to be the ones that benefited from affirmative action. We were supposed to be the ones who were going to integrate and in the same way that the slaves never talked about the struggle, some of us never talked to our children about the struggle because we didn't want them to experience that pain. And I think we've got to ensure not only do younger people know these stories, but the reason they need to know these stories is because they say if you don't remember it, history will repeat itself. If we don't learn those lessons, but it's coming back around. Some of this stuff is not new. And we have to also kind of make space for these voices at microphones in the streets, at decision tables, and listening to say, maybe our taste in music, our taste in clothes is not the same. Kids are wearing what we wore in the 70s. It's back. It's back. When I was a teenager, my brother wore his hair like yours. The fro was the thing. My son grew up wearing a real close cut, and now he's got locks and curls. But everything makes that circle. But we have to remember that these young people see the world differently. If we don't give them that background so that they can make right discernments and be able to analyze what's happening to them, they will fall victim to things. But it just breaks my heart that I'm fighting for the very things I'm fighting for my grandson in the same way that my grandfather fought for me. And it shouldn't be. That just shouldn't be. And that's where we are. But and I hope our willingness to listen and make space is what requires us to stay at the table. You don't have to you don't even have to agree. But everybody has the right at the table. If you believe, as I do, that we're all created in the image of God, and we all have beauty and dignity of our own, we don't get to limit another person's dignity or limit the space that they occupy.
Ernest, your response to the president.
Yeah, I would say, and again, thank you all for the kind words that you bestow upon me every time I come on. I'm grateful. As you're speaking, I'm thinking of how we all experience pain in life. And one of the worst feelings to have when you experience pain is to feel as though you are alone, to not have someone to confide in, or not to have someone who can relate to your experience. History to me proves to us that we are not alone in our struggles. And for the generations, that come even after me, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and so on and so forth, without that historical perspective, they will be made to feel as though they are inventing these new waves, right? Because my kids, my oldest daughter's 10 and 12, wear bell bottoms and stuff like that. And, they bring back the 70s aesthetic. So like metaphorically, they'll, without the knowledge of the past, they'll believe they created that. And then without the context of the past, they won't understand where these movements came from. I'm thinking of, as you all are speaking, I was in Milwaukee a couple weeks ago for a track meet for my daughter. And on the way back, I decided that we had to stop because whenever I go on these road trips with my kids or any trip in general, I'm always looking for historical landmarks to take them to. We went to America's Black Holocaust Museum in Milwaukee, which was founded by Dr. James Cameron, who escaped a lynching in Marion, Indiana, a picture that I'm sure many of us are familiar with. And he has this quote at the as you exit the museum that I had to take a picture of that stood out to me, and I'll just read it real quick for you all. He says, and I quote, "History tells me that a people without a story are a people with no name. Without a name, one is not respected or understood. Without a name or a story, the depth regions of the heart will never be plumbed. You remain a stranger to yourself and others. Stories give shape to our personal journey. Stories give context to our collective pilgrimage." End quote. I think that speaks to where we are now and the importance of making sure our kids understand our experiences and the interconnectedness of them all, especially as it relates to what Brother Gordy was speaking about with Sunday Best. I think so much about how my father indirectly taught me Black history through music. I know the people that will be shown in this documentary. And when you spoke about Luther Vandross, my kids know who Luther Vandross is, because just like my father used to quiz me in the car when I was growing up, I quiz my kids all the time because ain't no way you're going to listen to Kendrick Lamar and SZA rap about Luther and sample him without knowing who he actually is.
Right.
We talk about passing the baton, which I think is a kind of cruel way of saying that our parents are old and that we're old. Pass the baton. But for those who are paying attention to this conversation, to what Kerry Gordy had to say, that's exactly what's happening right now. On KBLA Talk 1580, we're passing the baton. We're speaking intergenerationally about our history. And in that intergenerational conversation, there is a passing without the cruelty of saying, y'all getting old. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is pushing back after Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem blamed sanctuary cities for a recent shooting by an undocumented immigrant.
Let everyone know that I have nothing to do with the rules that are put in place.
Adams defended his record and pointed to former Governor Andrew Cuomo's bail reform laws as part of the issue. Black Atlanta rapper Cash Out, born John Gibson, has been sentenced to life in prison plus 70 years after being convicted in a RICO and rape case involving forced sex work. And President Trump is taking aim at former President Obama on Truth Social, sharing an AI-generated video of Obama being arrested in the Oval Office. The post followed claims by the Director of National Intelligence that Obama officials faked intel on Russian interference in 2016, claims Democrats say are politically driven. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year and their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers are off to a very bad start in the second half of the season. They were swept at home by Milwaukee. The Dodgers lost 6-5 on Sunday. Mookie Betts had a chance to change the outcome in the bottom of the ninth. Betts came up with the bases loaded and 2 outs, but flied out to center field to end the game. The Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10 games. The Angels got an 8-2 win at Philadelphia. Angels left fielder Taylor Ward had 4 RBIs. The Angels are in New York City today to start a 3-game series against the Mets. President Trump is threatening to withhold federal funding for a proposed new stadium for the NFL Washington Commanders. Trump wants the franchise to go back to its original nickname, the Redskins. Washington majority owner Josh Harris said he has no plans to do that. The Washington franchise replaced Redskins with Commanders in 2020. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley Show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard. Not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us, and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis Smiley and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war. And we, the people of Black Altadena, are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there is nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
No warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on autopsy, then click on request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are memorializing the life of Malcolm Jamal Warner, who apparently perished today in a swimming accident or in some kind of death-related event that's largely tied to water.
Mm.
We're still waiting for more information, but Malcolm Jamal Warner has been, at age 54, a significant part of the culture and the significant part of all of our lives. We watched him grow up. We imagined that we were members of the Cosby family.
Yeah.
And he was, in a real sense, for parents who had never raised children before, he was like kind of the young man that we wanted to raise.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cosby children's daughters were kind of the daughters that we wanted to have raised and to raise. And Professional Parents is a vision of America, both professional parents, that we expected to have.
Right.
So Malcolm Jamal Warner, Reverend Owens, is a part of who we are.
Absolutely. And it's just when those kinds of reports happen across social media, and it was posted by somebody that I have a lot of confidence in, but I still did my own Google search just to be sure that it wasn't fake news.
It's CNN, it's MSNBC,
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's just such a shock to all of our systems, to somebody who was so beloved in the culture as we were all growing up. And of course, the Cosby Show, still, certainly a staple for many of us in the late 80s, early 90s. So just such a shocking, our prayers are certainly with his wife, and I believe he has a daughter. But just such a sad day, such a sad day.
It certainly is. Madam President, when we think about, bridging generations, I've come to appreciate, Brother Krim, that a generation is about 4 years. It's about, every generation has, their own president for either 4 years or 8 years, but that's about it. I mean, some people reflect upon growing up in the Reagan years, then they reflect upon growing up in the Clinton years. I mean, what we remember when we come to this moment, Madam President, of our consciousness, it really defines who we are. And Ernest Krim is coming into consciousness, and I'm not speaking down to you, Ernest, or belittling your educational path, but you've had 4 years of Trump, you've had 4 years of Biden, you've had 6 months of Trump, and possibly 4 years of Trump. I mean, you're in the middle of something that's really, really ugly in and against the backdrop of our history. And I'm just concerned, I don't know if the president has some thoughts about it as well, about, from our generation, our reaction, or your generation. Wow, I can't believe I put myself in that generation. What the reaction is going to be, what the resistance is. We want to help you sharpen that pencil. Ernest?
Yeah, for me, just to even add some more context, I was a child in elementary school, making my way to high school when Bill Clinton was in office, and I became a little bit more aware when George Bush won. I distinctively remember my mom having a copy of Fahrenheit 9/11 and watching that and being absolutely in awe of everything that I was learning from that and seeing. And I grew up, like I was speaking to an elder the other day, who is maybe 80, and he was saying that he couldn't have, imagined in Obama. And I told him in response, I said, man, and when I was growing up, I couldn't have imagined in Obama either. So he's 30 plus years older than me. So like 40 years, so like going and so experiencing that while I was in college and then seeing where we are now has humbled me, because you would always hear politicians, and you probably know what I'm about to say. Our democracy is fragile. You would hear it all the time. And I don't think we truly understood what that meant. I didn't. I knew what they were trying to communicate to get us to, be excited to vote. I was going to vote regardless. That was just the expectation in my household. But to see it be torn apart, to see executive orders become legal according to our Supreme Court is baffling to me. And again, it speaks to the importance of understanding these pathways to this point. Because for me, as a history teacher, a former classroom teacher, I would tell people that we have to understand that Trump is not new. He's new to us, but he's not new to what America is. And if we look at people like Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson, we can gain a better understanding of just what he is not just trying to do, but is actively doing now. And hopefully that will give us some perspective to say that we refuse to have something like this. And I'll say in closing that I was just looking at a chart that was showing his approval rating across the country. And the majority of states had him in the negative. And these are states who many of them voted for him as well. I just truly hope that whatever happens moving forward, that we don't forget this feeling, because many of us will, because we are sometimes tied to the emotion we feel maybe in the last few months leading up to an election. We have to remember where we are now and don't let him pacify us in any other way by saying that he pardoned somebody that we respect, or he put his name on a check or something like that. Remember where we are now. And for those of us who have children going back to school soon, remember the lack of resources that you will have and how that's going to feel to you and impact your family.
Madam President, we have about 1 minute and 45 seconds before we come forward.
Absolutely. That failure to remember, or failure to even have that kind of context. William Barber talks about the third Reconstruction. And that's what we're really seeing, is that there have been periods of liberation and then backlash, liberation and then backlash. The initial Reconstruction, backlash, and we clamped down harder with slavery codes and Jim Crow laws. Civil rights movement, we had to fight tooth and nail to get through that. And through all of that, we really did. Nobody has believed more in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence than formerly enslaved Black people in the United States. And now we can't even count on that. We can't count on Congress. We can't count on any respect for the rule of law. We can't count on the Supreme Court. It's tragic, and we really do have to have that lens of history to keep us from going crazy, or to forget that Trump can't be kowtowed to. He can't be bargained with. It's just evil is what's happening. It's just sheer evil.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, family. This is Dr. Rosa Milligan, self-appointed mayor of South Central LA. I'm sounding the alarm. AI, artificial intelligence, is not coming. It's already here. Join me with a powerful Zoom seminar that will teach you how to use AI for your personal and business use. Go to mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742.
Let's be real. Too many Black businesses missed out on COVID PPP loans because they weren't tech ready. We can't afford to be left behind again. This time, we must lead. Register today at mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742.
You know me, Dr. Rosa, trusted voice of the people, 50 years fighting for literacy, technology, and living trust education. And now I got your back on AI. Go to mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742. Your future is calling. Answer it.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA 80. In this hour, we are continuing our conversation on intergenerational connectivity, and we are also commemorating, memorializing, remembering the life of Malcolm Jamal Warner, 1970 to 2025. And if you haven't heard, Malcolm Jamal Warner is now part of the ages. Apparent accident while swimming. Malcolm Jamal Warner lost his life on this day. And it is a very, very sad moment for many of us who grew up with Malcolm Jamal Warner really writing the narrative, if you will. The acting career of his life was our life. We projected ourselves in that way. Madam President, some thoughts about Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Again, as you said, sort of that family was the first time we'd seen a Black family on TV with two professionals living a particular kind of life, still Black, but with different contextual experiences. I think that the makeup of the children mirrored Bill Cosby's own family, 4 girls and 1 son. So he was the boy. I was too old to have had a crush on him, but certainly as many did, as I'm seeing on social media, people are just, grieving in all kinds of ways. But certainly just the warmth of that family, the young man that he became. He went on to be in a couple of other sitcoms and dramas. I think he was in a show with Tracy Ellis Ross and did some other things, but and really tried to give back to the community. Bernice King, the King Center, posted about a tribute to him. He had been the MC of the 2023 King's Beloved Community Awards, and so was engaged in so many different ways with the Black community. And it's just tragic whenever you lose someone suddenly. Our systems are still in shock. It's just hard to believe. At 54 is still a very young man.
I think in this moment, Madam President and Brother Krim, that I don't know why I'm reflecting upon my own life and how I will be remembered. Think about the loss of someone like Malcolm Jamal Warner. There's this moment of reflection where we stop to think about his body of work and the way in which, as a Black man, he presented himself. And that is the body of his work. That is the definition of who he will be and is remembered as. And I'm wondering, there are some people who, okay, I have no problem being this dignified child of 2 professional parents in the Cosby Show. I have no problem being a brain surgeon. But some of us in our acting careers, we actually stoop to wherever the dollar is, and we're prepared to do just about anything to get it. And so I'm not quite clear on what the mixed message is. But I get the impression that, for example, across the career of Denzel Washington, there is a methodology, right?
Yeah.
I get the impression across Diane Carroll's career, there's a point and there is a methodology. It's just about money. It's also about what we heard in the first segment, which was the dignity within which our actors and actresses and entertainers approach their work. And Malcolm has a substantial body of work as a dignified Black man. Ernest?
I think what's so profound about him to me is, so I grew up again seeing the Cosby Show and seeing his representation. So although I was aware of the negative images regarding our community, because it still existed at that time, I grew up at a time when we had more options, and to be able to see that, and for him, he was a representation of what I would strive or want to strive to be as a teenager, as a young adult. And I think what impressed me the most was when I began to see him outside of the role of Theo as he got older, and seeing him on radio interviews and to hear him talk, because sometimes you get caught up in the character. You think you think that they're completely different. Like in real life, he was profound. He was what he showed and exhibited himself to be on that show. He was an artist, through and through. I'm sorry. And I think that, he was Grammy nominated, I believe. He produced work that shed light on the HIV/AIDS crisis when it was becoming a part of our vocabularies and our consciousness at the time. He spoke so highly of our great ancestors and how his parents made sure that he read and read. He was named after 2 of our greatest historical figures. I think that speaks to everything that he has become in his life. And when I came across it, like you, Rev, I was shocked. I didn't expect, I was expecting to see maybe he was in a hospital or maybe there was an update on something he did. But to come across death like this, you all, on social media, it's unlike anything that I've ever known. And I know I'm relatively, I still want to hold on to my youth, but it's traumatic to be able to experience that collectively, because 54 is, to me, it's still young. Yeah. And he had so much more to give, so much more wisdom to teach. So I just hope that we are able to learn from his example up until the point where he was tragically taken from us today.
Madam President, Dr. King raised the question about our obsession and our concern for longevity, but he encouraged us to look at the quality of our lives and the quality of our existence.
Right. He famously said, longevity has its place, and we all want to live a long life. But he said, I'm not worried about that anymore. He got to the point where he understood that he had a call and a purpose, and that it perhaps would bear some costs. And I think what we saw, to Ernest's point, in Malcolm Jamal's career, was somebody who wasn't just trying to be big baller, shot caller, and have cars and houses and just be the celebrity thing, but somebody who seeks not just celebrity, but understands the responsibility that comes with having a platform. And so when you have a platform, if you care, if you care about how other people see you, and about the role models that you're setting, and about how you can leverage that platform for good or for ill or for yourself, right? A lot of people just want to leverage the platform for themselves. And he was clearly somebody who took that responsibility seriously in other things that he did, and wanted to be able to stand proudly and not just a whole lot of material gain, but to have some integrity with everything that he did. And too many celebrities just want to make money and not accept the responsibility that comes with having people look up to you.
Madam President, we have about a minute and 30 seconds and a hard stop at the top of the hour. Maybe a word of hope.
I love the fact that you always ask that. There's a scripture, I think it's in 1 Corinthians somewhere. It says, hope doesn't disappoint. And I think there are so many things that happen in our society where we want to, from everything that we've been talking about what's been happening politically, the frustration and the anger that we may feel about what's happening with executive orders, or just ridiculous Supreme Court decisions and readings, the state of our communities, the economic injustice that still pervades, the sad inequities that we still see in our educational system. Hope doesn't disappoint. It's important for our own spirits as human beings to believe, first of all, that there's something that can be done. The moment that we believe that we have to give up, then I'm not sure what our journey is about. So regardless of whatever your spiritual, religious perspective is, there, human beings still have agency. There's still work that can be done. And it's not the audacity of hope, as Barack Obama said. There's nothing wrong with holding on to hope. Scripture tells us hope does not disappoint.
Thank you, Madam President. We're excited that Ernest Krim will be joining us on Mondays in the first hour moving forward on Moving Mountain Mondays. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Thank you all very much for your participation. This is Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Until next time.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is pushing back after Homeland Security Secretary Christy